I'm just heading off on my laden touring bike there on an overnight wild camp to the Rock of Ages situated in the Mendip Hills. I've even got some cook pans and I'm going to cook myself a meal tonight, including a pudding. I've actually got a bottle of wine and a wine glass as well. I'll see you there. Arrived at our destination, Burrington Combe, at the foot of the northern slopes of the Mendip Hills. So I've just climbed up that little bank without any cars seeing me, and this would be my camping spot. This afternoon has been very sunny and there was a little bit of rain just as I crossed the A38 near Lowesgate Airport, and then it's begun to get really cold now. I think the temperature is going to drop tonight. There is some snow forecast on high ground further north in the area, basically above the M4 corridor. I've got the outer tent up, the fly sheet. Clearly winter camping involves a little bit of different equipment. The tent is the same as I use for lightweight summer camping. I'll run through the differences, and the first one being, I bought this little sheet of tarpaulin. I picked it up from B&Q. I sometimes use it as a basher, just like a rain shelter when I'm really lightweight bivvying. I'm actually going to use it as a second ground sheet in here tonight, so I'm going to try and put it out almost as a carpet. The reason being is there's a few twigs. I don't want to damage the ground sheet. I've picked most of them up, but also it'll give me a second layer of insulation. I've got the inner tent up now, almost. Another piece of equipment, just a bit of cheap foldable lightweight reflective material. I think this came from B&Q or Screwfix as well. It's the sort of thing, well, we bought it to fix behind our radiators to reflect the back teat, so that's going to work really well as a kneeling pad. And I'm going to cook in the porch as well tonight. More about my meal later. The tent I've been using for about 10 years now. It's a storm shield. I bought it from Millets. I told the story back on my last camping video. I'll put a link to that in the description below, where I went through my summer equipment. But the short story is, I had a really good tent that I took to America, and it lasted for years afterwards. Eventually I had to replace it. I went to buy a like for like, and they'd redesigned the new model, and I just didn't like it. It was a Terra Nova Voyager. The first one was excellent. It was so easy to put up, even in the pitch black. The second one, they just complicated it, and I just didn't think it was going to work for me. I bought this just to fill in for a couple of years until I decided what to buy, and I've been using it ever since. I like it so much. The main selling point for me really is the ease of putting it up. I mean, because I'm lightweight camping, I'll sometimes be doing it in the dark or the wet. This one is just so childishly simple. 2 foldable poles, like Magic Wand type poles, go through 2 tunnels. They're even colour coordinated, a few guy ropes just to peg it down, and then the inner just literally goes inside after you've put the outer up, so you can put that in even if it's raining outside, and just hook elastic bands onto the designated eyelets, up in about 5 or 6 minutes. Next to going is probably the most important variation for my summer camping, my winter sleeping bag. This is a Snug Pack Softy 10. I use a Softy 3 during the summer. This is a Softy 10 Harrier. I bought it in 1999. It's synthetic lining, so it washes easy. It doesn't matter if it gets wet. I think it's comfort down to -7. It'll keep you alive down to -12, so they say. I bought it when I was cycling across America. I took 3 months off work to cycle across America. That's the bag unfolded in the tent. It's purple on the top, black on the underneath. As I said, synthetic lining, so it just goes in the washing machine. Tonight I've bought a cotton liner which I'll just put inside. The idea is you can wash the cotton liner much easier than doing the bag every single time. And they say by putting a liner inside a bag you normally add another season to it. So this is a 3-season bag anyway for Arctic conditions. I guess the cotton liner theoretically takes it up to a season 4 bag. This, although it's 20 years old, is as warm today as when I first bought it. The light is fading fast now, so the next job will be to get the sleeping mat out, inflate that, put the bag on top of it, and then I'll get back to you once everything's inside, because I'm going to lose my daylight otherwise. Everything's now in the tent, off the bike. Actually put the bike, you may see it, it's in a big plastic bag. I do that in the winter. There's rain forecast tonight, so I don't really want it being out all night in the rain. It's a British Airways bag. Shows how old it is, because I used to fly abroad a lot. Probably got that in the late 80s, maybe early 90s. The other thing is, I think, is security as well. If somebody tried walking off with that during the night, I'm pretty sure the rest of them would wake me up. There's a youth group heading up on the Mendips. You may see all the night lights. There's quite a lot of noise in the car park. I wonder what it was. They're heading up into the woods. Me and Linda have taken that route before. You take a track off to the right, and there's a steep climb up onto Blackdown, which is the highest point on the Mendips. I've made the inside of the tent quite cosy with some fairy lights. Linda gave them to me, and it's a tip I got a few years ago when I did my first bothy night. When I was researching it, I read somewhere somebody sort of said take some lights or just some tea candles, and you won't get any heat off it, but it'll really make the place feel nice and warm and cosy. And it really was. It is quite a good mental trick, that. This feels really nice and cosy. I've got my LED light bulb above the porch, so the tent's quite well lit. I've got a head torch. And now it's tea time. So tonight I'm cooking pepper mushrooms in a garlic sauce. Then I'm going to stir fry some chicken in mixed herbs, and then I'm going to cook that in a lemon sauce. I've got a bottle of Italian sparkling wine and a wine glass, and for pudding I've got a Wayfarer boil in the bag chocolate pudding. I've never had one of these. I only tried my first Wayfarer meal last summer, which was an all-day breakfast. I actually really like the idea of chocolate pudding camping, so that's tonight's experiment. For winter camping, I will use a camping gas stove. I picked this up 20-25 years ago. It's still going strong. It's only a cheap one. And although it's a camping gas cartridge, I actually don't use that fuel. What I do, these canisters, I think they're about £4.50. These canisters, they're the sort you get in forecourts in garages. You get packs of about 6 or even 8 for less than one of those. I've just bought an adapter on eBay, so when that's empty I can just top it up with these. I did work out the difference in saving once, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's substantial. It's well over half. It's probably about a quarter of the price. So I'm going to fire this up, heat some oil up, mix some garlic granules in with it, and then start frying the pepper and the mushrooms. That pepper is almost like an orange. It's so succulent. I can eat those raw. Just giving it a really good fry to make sure the chicken's really well cooked. And then I'll pour in the lemon sauce. I've now added the lemon sauce. Going to be stirring that and cooking that for about 5 or 10 minutes. Then I'll be opening my bottle of wine. I may even sit outside and eat it. It's actually quite warm, quite sheltered here. So my meal dished up: stir-fried chicken with mushrooms, peppers, fried in garlic, mixed herbs, and then marinated in a lemon sauce. Got the water boiling now for my chocolate pudding later on. And a nice little glass of Italian sparkling rosé. Cheers, bon appetit. This is what my tent looks like in the pitch black. So there's rocks right behind me where my bicycle's parked. You may see the orange lights inside. That's the fairy lights lighting up the tent. There's my head torch just sat down, and then there's the bulb in the porch, that LED bulb. So different from when I used to go camping years ago. You'll just put an old candle in an old tin you'll just use for your meal. I'm just waiting for my main course to go down before I heat the water up again. My pudding really nice and warm now. I've got 2 base layers on, a fleece top and this puffer jacket. Feels so much warmer now, and a hat of course. I mentioned earlier on about when I went to America. I went for 3 months and I did invest in a good tent and this sleeping bag which I've still got. So the story behind that was on my 39th birthday in February of 1999, I was in a pub mid-afternoon with some mates from work, and there was this bunch in there. We were chatting with them, having a good laugh. They weren't causing trouble, but they were paralytic. And I remember one of the girls was saying, fancy having your 40th birthday on a cold, wet, horrible February day. And she wasn't really enjoying it. And it made me think, this time next year it'd be my 40th. And I went home and just thought, what am I going to do? I'm just not going to go to a pub and get slaughtered. So the long and short of it was, I decided to cycle across America. I saved up 6 weeks annual leave. I went a year without annual leave, and then I also took 6 weeks sabbatical. My boss understood what I was doing, authorised it. So on my 2 days before my 40th birthday in February 2000, I flew to San Francisco, spent a couple of nights at New Fossil just acclimatising. On my 40th birthday, February 2000, I started my cycle trip across America. So I cycled following the adventure cycling routes. They do 3 across America. They do a northern tier, a central tier and a southern tier. And because I was going through the winter and the early spring, I decided to go on the southern tier for safety reasons. There's still some pretty amazing big climbs. This is a map of the route. I followed the Pacific Coast Highway down from San Francisco down to San Diego. Distances are vast. That was an adventure cycling route. And then I took the southern tier across Southern California, Arizona, across the Continental Divide in early March, through New Mexico, the mountains, then Texas. That was huge. That was a quarter of the journey. One state, quarter of the journey, massive. And then into Louisiana, Mississippi, a very short stretch of Alabama, which included a sea crossing, and then into the panhandle of Florida, and I hit the east coast at St. Augustine, and then I cycled from St. Augustine down to Miami where I flew home. And that's 3 months. So I got back just before the Maybank holiday, I think. I think I went back to work on the Monday I would have been going back after Maybank holiday. The tent I described earlier on, the Terra Nova Voyager, it was a favourite with backpackers and cycletourists at the time. there's a few pictures of it. I would just ride 70-80 miles, especially in the Western deserts, and just pull off the road about 50-60 yards. I was warned not to go more than 100 metres from the road because sometimes you just wouldn't find the road again. And then when I got to Louisiana, I'd been doing so much just living out of tins and cooking rice and pasta. I'd got just absolutely sick of it by then, and I hit civilization. I detoured down to New Orleans. It wasn't Mardi Gras, but Mardi Gras had just finished, and I really got a taste for Cajun food. I came home and I actually taught myself how to cook Cajun food, which leads to my next trip. I'm going to do a camp sometime March, April, May, I'm not sure when, and I'm going to camp on the Westbury White Horse, and I'm going to cook myself a Cajun meal up there. So I'll try my best to make a video of that. Meantime, I'm starting to think I might be ready for that chocolate pudding. I'm certainly ready for a second glass of wine. There's my chocolate pudding in the bag, in the pot, boiling away for 8 minutes. Then I leave it for a minute to settle. No way am I eating it out the bag, not after just cooking a meal and having a glass of wine, 2 glasses of wine. I've got my pudding bowl here. That's my chocolate pudding decanted in my pudding bowl. That looks and smells delicious. Just going to polish that off and I'll let you know what it tastes like. I finished the chocolate pudding. What did I think? Well, if I'd paid to have that in a pub at dessert, I'd probably be a little bit disappointed, but out of a bag camping, I don't think you're going to get anything better than that. It was really, really nice. I wouldn't want it every single camping trip, that's for sure, but I don't know how else you would get a pudding of that quality camping. So marks out of 10, 5, 5.5, 6 maybe. Linda's been taking the mickey out of me all week over this. I've been and bought myself a very small hot water bottle to put in my sleeping bag just to warm up before I go in. I have to say, the one part of me that's cold at the moment is my feet, so it's going to be nice to put my feet onto that. I was watching a YouTuber who I follow a lot actually. He's got some great tips, years and years of experience. Patrick Dickinson, he lives up in Sheffield. He suggested it and I thought, why not? It's now 9:30. And I'm inside my tent, inside my sleeping bag, all zipped up for the night. Unless I have to get up in the night, of course that is. The porch is all clear. All the utensils and the pots and pans, cutlery are clean. So I can make myself a hot drink first thing in the morning. I've got an all-day breakfast in a bag. Also got bread and butter, jam. There is rain forecast for this area overnight and into tomorrow morning. So I really don't mind if I wake up to the rain. I'm actually really enjoying this, just being in this lovely location surrounded by these amazing cliffs. They took on a different sort of dimension after dark. Probably going to put my headphones in, listen to a bit of music, switch the lights out and just let myself drift off to sleep. So I'll say good night and speak to you in the morning. It's 20 to 2 in the morning now. And it's pouring down with rain outside. I absolutely love being in a tent in the rain. It just feels so nice being warm and cosy and dry in here, and literally feeling a couple of inches away. Just the other side of the fly sheet is cold and wet and inhospitable out there, and there's just this thin layer, well, 2 thin layers of protection and about a couple of inches of difference. I just love this. I'm sat here enjoying it.